We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you another episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, already in progress.
We're back
Live. Well,
live. Well,
live if you're in the
with us,
webcast with us.
if
Yeah.
you're like standing next to us. So it's coming up at 7 o'clock. The tea time right now is 6:59, 7 p.m. on August 20th, 2024. You know what's significant about this night, Woody?
We're meeting.
Well,
This is our 10th episode of the sixth season.
Is it a 10th? I think it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I do like 6'8", 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah.
He's a center power forward, 6'10".
So what is significant?
Well, tonight is the Florida primary, 2024 primary election results are going to be coming in.
I was trying to figure out how I was going to shoehorn that topic in tonight, but you took care of it for me.
Oh, we shoehorned it.
Yeah. Used a bulldozer.
We brought it to the forefront, but yeah, so in Clay County, this is happening all over the state of Florida, but in Clay County tonight, not a big ticket, not a big ballot.
Yeah, what is this primary for? Obviously, it's not presidential or senatorial.
The constitutionals that we would normally elect. Constitutionals are your clerk of the court, your tax collector, your property appraiser, your supervisor of elections, and your sheriff. Feels like I'm forgetting one. Property appraiser.
And what are these called? These are your
They're called constitutional officers. Each county's got one. You've got them in your county as well.
I'm sure we do. Yeah.
And they're the officers that are obviously listed per the Constitution of the state or the county constitution. Anyway, so those officers ran unopposed. And so we had a county commissioner get elected unopposed. We had a tax collector unopposed, a property appraiser unopposed. I think supervisor of elections had a race unopposed. We had a school board member run unopposed. So she's in. And then the only constitutional that's running a race is the sheriff of our county. And she is not being primaried because she's Republican. And so this is the Democratic and Republican primary on both sides. And so the fellow that she's running against has registered as an independent. So she'll go to the general. That means she'll go into
She's
November.
automatically in the general.
Yeah, those two will race. They'll figure it out in November.
Okay.
And then what's left is we have a school board seat, District 2. That's what I'm heavily involved in this year. So there's one Democrat and two Republicans, three Republicans, registered Republicans in that race right now that will hopefully finalize tonight. It could go to a runoff. So you have to get 50% plus one of the vote to win it outright. And so if they don't get 50% plus one, then it goes to a runoff.
Isn't 50% plus one 51%?
No.
50.1%?
No, 50% plus one. So let's say you had 100 people.
Do you guys not know how to add? That's 51%.
That would only work if it's 100 people.
What?
If there's 20,000
So what is
people,
plus one supposed to mean?
If there's 25,000 people that vote,
right,
50% would be 12,500. So they would need 12,501 vote.
Oh, one extra voter. I thought you were talking about points or something. Okay, I'm on board now. And for our listeners who don't know, Dave is heavily involved in politics.
I guess
so. They probably know based on your name.
The U.S.
Hey, I never saw that. I never thought about that.
That was my campaign slogan. Vote for me, David Theus. That's the U.S.
That's a good idea.
I didn't win.
I said, how'd that work out?
Wasn't good enough.
Man. Anyway, so, well, you bring up a good point because this is an idea, one of my business ideas that I personally cannot bring to fruition, but I've been hunting down for someone to do this for the last 7 years or so, whenever I run into someone who has this capability. Anyhow, long story short, I think it would be phenomenal if I could put in my zip code or whatever the basis is for voting districts these days in your state, and it would list every candidate from the president down to, I don't know what you would consider the
dog catcher.
Yeah, that you vote for, and it would list all those offices. And when there is when they're up for election, who the counterpart is, and I'd be able to see their records and everything, because I could, beyond senator and House of Representative and my town mayor, I don't even know which representative is mine here. And I would gather I'm probably on the 80% side of that equation.
Well, there's something to be said about an informed electorate. And it is what I call participatory sport. If you want us to go ahead, should I wipe your backside too while we're at it, while we're putting this stuff together? So in order to have freedoms, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you're going to have to do some work.
And I usually download the ticket before I go in and vote.
Well, our supervisor of election sends out a dummy ballot so you can kind of, preview it and say, okay.
And he checks the boxes they want you to check. And then they say, here's the
page,
here's an envelope. And what time should I pick you up?
And if there's any dead members of your family, we'd like them to vote too.
Yeah,
we don't want to be exclusionary.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's in Chicago. Anyway, so you're going to have to do a little work. There's no free lunch, and you know how that works.
I know, but I that would be something I think.
Well, you're right. That would be cool.
And there's a lot to be made from a sales. I mean, you could turn a profit on it by enabling.
I don't know.
Enabling your politicians to talk to you directly, because obviously you're interested if you're in this application. So if anybody steals this idea from me, I'm on you. I mean, with our vast listeners, there's got to be someone out there who can help make this come to fruition.
Yeah.
No.
Well, let's make no. You can go to your supervisor of elections, at least in Clay County, and you can see the candidates who are running. They list each office who are the registered candidates.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of what you're saying is you not only want the names, but you want to have some links available to you that you can just push another button and everything gets told to you, right?
Yeah, it's something like sometimes I'll go on to the state Senate because I don't know anybody, right? I'll go on there and see what they voted on and what they were for and against. Right. Just out of curiosity, right? And you really can't, you can't do that for every candidate and every position easily. That takes a lot of work.
Well, you're right. There is a multitude of resources that you have to either know about or discover through research. Like, for example, in a federal situation for House of Representatives and the Senate, there's a site called Roll Call.
Right.
And that's probably what you're referencing. And you can go roll call and you can see where your representative or whomever, how they voted on each bill. But then you got to know what the bill was. And then you got to know what your thoughts about that bill is and how they should have voted or not.
You can tell I'm not just BSing about this idea in my head. My thought would be, as a representative, if you wanted to come on this server and say, hey, I voted this way on this bill because, and give it the ability to say why you voted one way or the other on a bill, instead of me trying to interpret why you said no or yay to a bill.
Well, I'll tell you I'll put my politician hat on, which I don't claim to be, but I guess by the nature of what I did, I am. And so what I've discovered is they don't want everybody knowing how they voted.
Oh, of course.
Because you can't please everybody.
But this is going to be on here for you. You're welcome to do it.
Well, that sounds like a compilation. That sounds like someone who curates information could pull that together. That'd be quite a site. I'll look into that.
I don't know. And then I would like to tie it in with one of the fact checking machines as well.
So who's going to fact check the fact checkers? That's the question. I know what you're saying. You'd like to be able to make sure it's true.
Yeah, it's hard to make it unbiased. I would say that's the one thing I've struggled with in the is how would I remain biased? And from a revenue standpoint, you're gaining a crap load of good email addresses and to give to politicians if they want to market directly to people. So there's there would be a financial aspect to this.
I think the only way you could run it from an arm's length distance, to be transparent, because if you were charging them to be on your site, then
maybe the politicians, yes.
Yeah. So you'd have to run like advertisements that are
some, in like to some degree.
Yeah.
Banner ads.
Yeah.
Or maybe, hey, subscribe to We Can Help with Dave and Woody. Could be the first ad.
Yeah. That would be a freebie, of course, because we did those.
No, I charge us $10,000-$15,000 a second.
It seems only reasonable. Right. All right, let's get moving. So it's a pretty big day for us, for me personally, because I don't want to have a vested interest in this race, but I have decided, for those who care and give a darn, that I'm going to dedicate myself to the local races, specifically this year and last race, to the school board. And so I've got a dog in the hunt, so to speak. And we won't talk about who it is for the sake of the conversation, but I'm hoping that we can win outright. We do not want to go to a runoff. I think
so. You need the one or more.
Yeah, we need the 50% plus one. So that's what I'm hoping for. If it goes to a runoff between this person and another person specifically, then I think we win. But if it goes to a runoff between he and another person, we have a chance of losing. So we'll find out.
All right.
The lady will see.
Well, as a teacher, would this fall into is this a conflict of interest?
No, I think most teachers probably stay out of this conversation because they don't want to. Well, kind of like you, I don't want to.
Well, I guess you vote, so no matter what, you're gonna
definitely vote. They typically stay out of this conversation. I don't know why maybe I don't think anyone's afraid. It's not like they're going to come out and fire you or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe it's just not something they do. But much to my wife's chagrin, I'm involved in this. So it is.
Well, I sneezed there, so I muted. I wasn't ignoring you. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, well, then you saw the ugly face I made.
I thought your head was going to blow off.
So, and one other thing, a little housekeeping item. We liked the 40 to 45 minute time window we did last week. I think it plays out well. It pays better to the listener. The listeners have reached out in alarming numbers.
Alarming.
Yes, alarming numbers in favor of the new format. So we're going to try and stick to that as long as I remember to write times down.
Well, I have a start time, and I even said it when we came in. So,
well, that's because tonight is, schedule wise, it's important to you, but I did get it this time, so we will.
Okay, good.
We will try to adhere to that. So, this past weekend, you haven't left yet, have you?
Well, apparently, I'm still there, waiting for the car service.
Hey,
yes. So what he's talking about is my background that you can see on YouTube if you check us out.
Hey.
Otherwise, you're just going to have to imagine it. And I hope I don't get into some sort of copyright infringement here, but I'm sitting in the lobby at the Chicago University Club. They're on Monroe Street and Michigan Avenue in Chicago. I'm in the main lobby.
What's with why University Club? Is it tied in with the university? Is it just...
Well, so each city, you've got a university club probably in Charlotte.
I was wondering about this because I do notice this from city to city.
1879, I believe, is the founding of this club. And so in the early 1880s, 1879, some fellas got together that were educated at a university. I think Northwestern was involved in this particular one, but being in Chicago, I've looked it up. And so there were three guys, an artist, an abolitionist, and a graduate. And they wanted to have a place where like-minded people could get together who believed in education, the arts, literature, and business, and they could meet socially. And so they formed a club. And so this is not the original building that it was in, but it was not too far. And then I think they had a fire in Chicago, if I'm correct. And it survived the fire, but they had to move away from that particular area.
That cow. Yeah.
Yeah. And they met up with this architect who had designed a building near where this building is located, and they said we wanted to do something. I think it's Greek Gothic. It's beautiful. I mean, the
I can tell.
landscape.
Yeah.
We just don't have this in Florida. We don't have the stonework, first of all, and we don't have the type of architecture. And so they commissioned that architect to design the building and build it right on the corner of Monroe Street and Michigan. So if you know where Chicago very well, Michigan is both streets. Michigan and State Street are run east and west parallel to the lake. It's a weird town because I always think Michigan is north and south, but the lake is north, Lake Michigan. And so this building, when you're up in the top, it's probably 12, 13 floors high. You can see out over the lake. So that gives you an idea of the preferential property location when you're looking out over a lake in a major city. So very beautiful, very stately, private club. And I won't get into too many details, but we had the good fortune of attending a family wedding in Chicago. And
yeah, so I think you told us last week. Now, let me back up a second. Did you have to fall asleep with this history nearby you, like you read it every night to fall asleep? Because you were well versed in how it came to be, its different buildings. I'm impressed with your knowledge. Or are you reading it off something in front of you?
No, I'm okay. So my wife grew up as what we call club kid. Her father was a high performing executive in the medical industry in Pittsburgh. And she was her father, their family were a member of clubs. And I didn't grow up in that setting. But we later through life became members of the Florida Yacht Club here in Jacksonville.
You mentioned that from time to time.
Yeah. And I became fascinated with the club presence. Now there's two sides of a private club, if you're not familiar with this. One of them is these people are well-to-do folks for the most part. Then not everyone is rolling in money, but for the most part, if you're going to be a member of a club, you've done okay. And so there is a certain group, just like anywhere else, that likes to tell you about how much money they've made. It's a nonstop one-upmanship. Apparently everyone's the CEO of some international-based company.
I'm familiar with that. We do that in life these days on Facebook and other properties about how great things are for.
Well, these people probably avoid Facebook because they're doing it all at the club. Yeah, so right. They've got their audience there.
They tune up on Facebook before they come to the real show.
Then there's the people who are old money. And they may be members of the club, and they really don't need to talk about it because, I met a guy one time whose great-grandfather designed this part of a train wheel. It's like this piece of the axle of a train wheel. Apparently, every train, boxcar, locomotive, every train in the world has this part on it.
Wow.
And so...
And it's patented or whatever.
Yeah, so. And he's done pretty well by it. So...
Very good.
But back to the point of this, then you have the folks that don't really talk about it that much, and they use the club for. So like when we were members, it was a business opportunity for me. I could take clients there for lunch. I could entertain groups of people for dinner. I could write those meals off, business expenses.
Yeah, a lot of people take advantage of that. It still costs you a ton of money out of pocket no matter what, but unless you can put it totally on the business, but.
Well, then there's benefit. I mean, you get to go to a place like this, and you don't have to
hang
worry
out with
about
Dave
those peons.
Yeah.
You don't get to hang out with those people that I can't talk about traveling with. There's none of those people there.
You know that rich man voice, like, oh, lovey, blah 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 blah.
We call it the jaw. Yeah.
Yes. True or false? Thurston Howell was the originator of that voice
from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was the first one ever to do it.
Yes, apparently that is the truth. That was a voice he came up with, and
you mean to associate with someone of wealth?
Yes.
Well, he must have. Life imitates art, or art imitates life. I don't know.
Right. So
must have known something.
Listen, I don't know the exact. I just heard that recently, so I thought I'd throw that fun fact.
Let's close this chapter. So it was a It was a glorious weekend. We flew out Friday morning. We had direct flights this time to Chicago. And I don't know if you're aware of this, what's going on in Chicago, even as we speak.
Just right this minute.
This is the weekend of the week of the Democratic National Convention. Just like the Republicans had in Milwaukee a month or so ago, the Democrats are in Chicago. And so we flew up Friday, car service from the airport to the club. So we showed up in the big black Suburban
Escalade or whatever.
Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, we're here, baby. Anyway, so we get out and do that. And then Friday was a long day because we started at 5:00 in the morning, and then we had a rehearsal dinner Friday night, which was late. So we were tired.
Yeah.
Of course, we stayed there at the club as well. And then Saturday got up, ran around doing stuff, and then the wedding was at 3:00. And
good time.
They put us on a bus on a trolley, took us into Lincoln Park where the wedding was. About a 15-minute bus ride.
That's a band, isn't it? Huh? That's a band, isn't it? Lincoln Park.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then they carted us all back to the club for the reception, and the reception was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, funny you were staying across the street from Millennium Park. Did you go hang out with some?
Yeah. So we took some pictures across the way. That's where the big bean is.
Oh, is that where the bean is?
I think it's Millennial Park.
Well, not according to Google Maps.
What, the bean or the park?
The park.
Well, the bean is there. There's another big fountain. These two block pillars. It's a fountain of people, the kids playing in underneath it.
And apparently it had you walk, and I don't know if it's reciprocal or not, but had you walk to the lake down Monroe, you would have been at the Chicago Yacht Club.
That's correct.
Maybe they had reciprocal privileges for you. You could have gone to two different clubs.
Well, we did ask about the club here in Jacksonville, and it has reciprocity. In fact, I brought it up, and they said,
that was the word I was looking for. Yes.
Yeah, they said, would you like to use your reciprocity? I'm like, no, we'll pay for it with our cash. So no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to use it. Anyway, so it's
real close to the racetrack too. You were a block away from where Jackson Drive is, where the NASCAR, when they do the street circuit there, turns up.
Yeah, that's a natural loop right there.
Yeah. So and across
down from Soldier Field,
right,
was off to the right of us. Trump Tower was just up Michigan and Washington.
A redoubtable opponent to the University Club in Chicago.
Well, I think there's a mixture of both parties represented at the club, but just happened to be this location Wednesday night is former Speaker Pelosi and Axelrod are speaking in this.
I always find that a funny name, but and by the way, you missed the word of the week there I threw at you.
No, I did. What was it?
Redoubtable.
Redoubtable?
Yeah, it's you want to ask the lady?
Yeah, I do. Alexa, define redoubtable.
From Imperva.com. Redundancy involves having backup resources that can take over if the primary resources fail.
All right, hold on before you ask her. I thought of this week. You know how they do YouTube Shorts?
Yeah.
We're going to start a Alexa doesn't work campaign on YouTube, and we're just going to show how she completely gets the answers wrong in this show.
Okay.
Constantly.
That could be our shorts.
Yeah, so this is going to be our short this week.
Okay, Alexa, define redoubtable.
The adjective redoubtable is usually defined as, that is to be feared, formidable. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for redoubtable.
Was that when I was getting out of the Escalade?
No. I said you said Trump Tower, and I said a redoubtable opponent, which is redundant, of the University Club.
No.
So I was trying to squeeze it in, because I forgot to use it in your political speech is what I was going to do.
Okay.
So my bad.
Redoubtable. I may use that one in a future reference. All right.
What's the one we promised? Overmorrow. Yeah.
Overmorrow.
We haven't used that in a while.
I'm going to use it tomorrow.
Okay.
because Overmar works best on Wednesday, because then wait a minute now, what?
Yeah, then Friday is
Friday.
Overmar.
Yeah. What are you doing Friday? Yeah, that's it.
So,
all right. Anyway, so we flew home Sunday, and our flight didn't leave until 5 or 6, and so we didn't get car service until 2. And so we went for a walk. We had breakfast that morning, met the bride and groom for breakfast down at the
oh, did you?
rooms. Yeah. Anyway, had a nice breakfast, and then we went for a walk down Millennial Park, and all the police down Michigan, there was probably we walked probably 2 miles down Michigan,
right?
And it was 13 passenger van, large SUV, city bus, 13 passenger van, large SUV, full of cops.
Bringing police in.
Bringing them in. They were staging them on Michigan because they knew they would have to deploy them down. So I went up to them. I was going to get a picture with a couple of them. They really nice people. God bless the men and women of the Chicago Police Department. And I was like, hey, fellas, you don't want to just walk up on these people.
Yeah. What I usually do is I walk up behind them and I'll poke them in the left rib and try to grab the gun with my right hand.
Yeah, I always go for like I'm a 6-shooter and I got like the West, I'm digging for. Or I'll lift my pants leg up like I'm going for an ankle. But no, I don't do that. So I said, hey, do you mind if I approach? And they're like, yeah, sure. What's going on, buddy? And I said, I don't know, large police presence. I mean, I'm familiar with the DNC being in town, but what's going on? Are you expecting something to happen right here? And this one guy goes, those idiots over at the DNC, he started naming off the different groups that are there.
Right. And
he says, we're just waiting for them to tell us where to go. And I said, okay, well, we've got a car service picking us up at 2:00. Do we need to move that to like
right? 11? Are they gonna be able to get here?
Yeah. Are they gonna be blocking the traffic, in the highway? And he goes, no, I don't think you have to worry about that. We're thinking they're gonna be here around 6:00 tonight, but they're staging this all now so they can, go here, go there, whatever. Like city buses with 50, 60 guys on a bus.
I think some pro-Palestinian people got through the first line of fencing yesterday or something.
Apparently they had permits. They had 3 groups that had permitted protesting, and the Palestinian part of it, they were nasty people, pro-Palestinian people. I don't understand it. Okay, you're pro-Palestine, don't agree with that, whatever. Yeah. But then you take it out on the cops.
I know that have nothing to do.
What does the Chicago Police Department got to do with you? Don't like?
Well, wait, no, it's the New York Police. They have the Israeli flag on there, which I can't.
Who does?
I think the New York Police do. Oh, they have a Star of David on their shoulder, I think.
Okay, whatever. But I mean, this guy wants to go home tonight to his family.
I know. Your point taken.
And they're like,
"Oh,
pig, you're a pig," and I'm like, stop. Anyway, so they were super cool. There were a couple of them at the club station there. I'm like, this is good duty. You're gonna like this one.
Yeah.
And we went into a hotel and I was talking to one of them. I said, hey, listen, God bless you, brother. Be safe. Keep your head on a swivel. He goes, thank you so much. They were just genuinely, thank you, sir.
As are all 99% of all policemen. It's, we make every group, we define every group by its worst members.
Look, they got a tough job. And I just like in any organization, I think we're saying the same thing. You get knuckleheads in any organization, but law enforcement across the board, they got a tough job. We don't need a bunch of ding dongs picking on them like that. But whatever, they were out in force, and they had this really cool. So we're walking down Michigan, and this is where all the trendy shops are, right? The big windows. Well, there's a company called boardupyourbusiness.com, and there's sheets of plywood. They were boarding up businesses because they're like, these knuckleheads are going to set the place on fire. But it's got a paint. They've stenciled on the board, boardupyourbusiness.com. So there's the private sector sees a demand for a service. And here's someone, I figured it was probably like a landscaping guy or a window cleaning
someone
guy.
With some ingenuity.
Yeah, maybe a window cleaning guy. He's already there, and he's started this second business. In case there's a riot, we'll help you board up your place.
Right.
So
it quickly moves to Florida for the next hurricane.
Yeah,
and,
maybe
on the other
around.
side of the board, it says halos for hurricanes or something on the other side of the plywood.
Or I thought maybe they were members of these groups, like BLM.
So
they're like, listen, we'll go in and torch the place, then I can come behind and sell them the board up the window.
Or maybe they send in recruits ahead of time, going, "Hey, I'm going to be down here next week. Where do you think, we could cause the most trouble?" And then that shop owner's like, "Oh man," and then you drop one of those cards on the ground as you leave, and the guy's like, "Oh,
cards
look.
To the guy.
Yeah." So
like the old ice pick and radiator story. Yeah.
Yes, that was your gig, I think.
Yeah, and I never did that, by the way. I didn't. I swear that I've heard about people. I swear I never did that. That would have been.
Well, I just would put ground pepper in my radiator. Remember that trick? Or bubble gum? You never heard of any of that?
No.
You used to put unground pepper. You could put it. The theory was you could put it in your radiator and it would plug the hole up. There's radiator stuff like that all over the place.
I used to put potatoes in exhaust pipes. That's a different thing.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, a little spud.
Right. Make some instant French fries or French potato.
What do you call that? Whatever. All right. So
Julian.
Yeah. Ron Popeil. So it's a good weekend. I feel refreshed, even though I think next time Sheila and I both agreed that if we're going to take Friday off, we're taking Monday off because you need the extra day to kind of.
The older I get, the more I try to take the day off after I get back.
Yeah.
From vacation, because it is tough to turn around and go right back to work.
And the people in Jacksonville, again, lived up to my.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that.
Terminology.
The people passengers or those in charge?
No, the passengers.
Okay.
Now, it's interesting flying to Chicago. Well, it was pretty much the same people. Yeah, they were idiots. And then on the way back, so on the way back, the flight's full, right? The guy comes on the announcement. Southwest says, we're pretty full. And so Sheila sneaks. We're like number 32 in that queue.
Right.
So Sheila opens her phone. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, just be quiet. And so she's searching. She pays the $40 to get us moved up to number 1. So now we're sitting at
number 1.
No, number 6. So we're sitting at number 6. And I go, why
was it worth it?
Oh yeah, well yeah, because we got to get on and get our stuff put away first. I guess we're Karens. Who knew? But
no, that's not a Karen move.
So the lady on the opposite side, I'm sitting on number 6. Just to my left is like 41.
Right.
The thing goes down and around.
Right.
Well, she's doing the inch thing again. She's moving up on the guy in front of her, and the guy turns around. It's like I was there. The guy turns around and goes, "I'm sorry, ma'am. What's your number?" She goes, 41. He goes, "Well, I'm 40."
Yeah. Yeah, go any further.
Settle down. Get off my heels. And she goes, "I know. I'm just so anxious. I'm going to get on the plane." And I wanted to say to her, everybody's going to get on. That's the way this
I know, but there's
works.
This fear. Yeah, that is a human behavior. There's this fear that somehow you're going to lose your spot in line, because you're not keeping an adequate gap. You want to push that person so they move up closer to the person in front of them, and no one can squeeze in between.
Like when you're driving your car, my wife's always like, "Don't leave too big of a gap because someone will get in front of you."
Yes.
Yeah, but you got a number. You got an assigned number.
It doesn't matter because people cheat the system, Dave. That's the problem, man. When you're 40, 45, 50, how do you think how many people can jump in front of you just following the rules, Oh, it's mind-numbing.
Life is too short.
I know. But
I do have some other good news. So
please.
Our daughter flew out from Pittsburgh with her.
So she joined you.
She did. So she had a +1. Her girlfriend teammate from her golf team, she came out as well. And so just an awesome time. And I don't remember I shared this with you last time, but we were struggling to get some housing for Sarah.
Yes.
For her grad school, and praise the Lord, it came through.
Well, there you go.
So Sunday morning we were having breakfast with the bride and groom, and she sent Sheila and I in our group text the text that came from the girls that said, "We would love to have you as our roommate. We are so excited." And I had to get up and leave the table. I was in tears. I was so not concerned, but I prayed about it, that this could be a lesson for her to learn and her faith walk that, God provides. and he provided. I knew he would, and it showed up, and I was just so excited for Sarah. I literally had to get up and go tear and wipe my eyes in the hallway.
And a guy walks by you in the hallway and goes, "Pussy."
Just get all to yourself, man.
Making us look bad here. He thinks you're crying about the wedding speech or something like that.
What is your problem, dude? Or do I call you that? Yeah.
Pansy.
Get out of here. You're not welcome in the club.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't need people like you. You're bringing us down.
Giving this place a bad name.
That was perfect, Woody. All right. Oh, okay. All right. So here's I guess lots of stories, but so.
Well, is your daughter of drinking age now?
Yeah.
Did she partake in the bourbon as well?
Well, so no, but so I was being a dad. Both of them are drinking age. My daughter's a little heavier than the other girl. The other girl's really kind of thin. And so I'm teaching them up. Listen, you're going to go out and drink. You got to have a little carbohydrate build up. Got to build a base. Don't get ahead of yourself. You're going to get yourself in trouble. And the other girl calls me dad. It was kind of cute.
Oh, that's cute.
We danced. All of us danced and did things. It was fun. So I'm talking to the groom. He's a graduate from a small school up in Ohio. And of course, his groomsmen are fraternity. He's in a fraternity, right?
Oh, okay.
And I knew the fraternity, but I'd kind of forgot about it, I guess. But then I re-engaged with him. So I'm talking to the best man, and he's in the fraternity, and a couple of their friends. Well, they're Lambacais.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Who isn't?
Bid. Everybody gets a bid, apparently. So I go up to him and said, so, Lambacai, huh? He goes, yeah. He goes, are you in a fraternity? I said, yeah, first of all, my dad was a Lambacai at Mississippi State. And he goes,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And he goes, but I'm a Sigma Chi. And he goes, well, everybody makes mistakes.
Oh.
So it was cool because, we had the little jab going on. And so I said, yeah. I said, I guess you didn't have a chance to make that because everybody gets a bid over there, apparently, at your place.
I got a bid to Lambacai.
I said, I got 2 bids from Lambacai. So I said, all joking aside, I said, the only thing I wish in hindsight that I knew about, and I guess I knew, but I didn't really fully understand it, was that legacy moment when dad shows up at the initiation. I'm assuming this is what happens over there.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. Yeah.
And so I said, I just wish we could have had that moment together. But out of fairness to my dad, he sat me down and said, look, you're going to have to make the same decision I did. I had to make a choice between Lambacai, Sigma Chi, and a couple other things. And they fit me the best, and you're going to discover that for yourself, that maybe it's just a good group of guys. Maybe that chapter is not as good. And I was thankful that he did that. It took a lot of pressure off my shoulders. It's just in hindsight, there's a part of me wish I could have been a legacy with him. We could have had that moment, but we turned out okay.
I didn't lay that on my son because I didn't want that to force him to do a fraternity.
No, I get it.
I've kept that quiet from him.
So here's the cool thing. This is good, tall, good-looking fella. He's standing right next to us.
What, are you in love with him? Is that why you were in all?
I had a little crush. I told him, if I was a chick, this thing would go differently, but I'm not. But since you're a Lambacai, I don't know how we can.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys roll.
I got a good chance of winning either way. So anyway, he says, no, I wasn't Greek. I didn't go Greek. I said, so you're GDI and you hung out with these guys? He goes, yeah. He goes, I transferred from Miami of Ohio. And I went, the Miami Triad? How did you not become a Sigma Chi? And he goes, I know. You know about that? I'm like, yeah, I think so.
Hello.
I couldn't get a pin without it, to know it. And so I said, you didn't have, he goes, no, Sigma Chi was after me. I didn't do it. And then when I got over to this other school where this kid went, he just happened that the Lambacai guys accepted him and he didn't.
Yeah, makes sense. So
anyway, it was fun. I was pushing back some bourbons with him, kicking around. And then it gave me something in the groom, who he's my nephew-in-law, but it gave us a connection that was cool. And cool. He was a good sport about it.
Well, it is Firefly. Oh no, I did that one before. Darn it!
What a dumbass.
Well, tonight, you know what? I'm going to switch it up on the family. I hope they're ready for it. But we're gonna update our looting map. Then
is this where you go out and loot places?
No. It's a map. Should Armageddon break out, I want a quick reference map of
where you're going first.
Yeah, where we're going first, second, and third, and where the kids are going to go and what they're going to get. It's
So
based on
that's
how
funny.
much they can carry and stuff.
We talked about in school today what would happen with an EMP, because our landline, our Wi-Fi went down. And so
It's all theoretical, though. The whole EMP thing is kind of theoretical.
So they're like, "What is it, Mr. D?" I said, "So what they do is they take a nuclear bomb, and they drop it, and it explodes about 10,000 feet in the air. So it doesn't really get down to us where it's going to wipe us out, but it just obliterates everything electronically." And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a good time. Make sure you tell your parents that Mr.
That
D
was always a threat. Well, the theory goes that, before transistors or
transvestites, was that what you were going to say?
No, solid state transistors, there were tubes.
Yeah,
right?
Resistors and tubes.
Right. And the theory goes the government still operates radio networks with only tubes in case an EMP is ever
initiated.
Yes, that they'll still be able to communicate with. Of course, no one has a radio receiver that is not.
You got to carry that little,
AM. Copy one of the old boom boxes.
Yeah, get your Walkmans out.
I worked with tubes in my day. I did.
Really? Tubes?
Mm-hmm. And radio transmission is solid state. It may have changed by now, but solid state could not handle the power that was necessary for radio broadcasting, large radio broadcast, 100,000 kilowatts and things of that nature. So you still had a tube in the transmitter, a fairly large one, about very heavy, 50, 60 pound tube.
Wow.
That we'd have to replace from time. I hated working on them because I was always afraid of a large arc. You'd reach in with a metal wand and you'd have to touch everything to make sure it wasn't electrically charged still. And I just knew one of those days it was going to go off in my hand. But it's frightening to go in there. You're like poking the stick around to make sure before you put your hands, because you put your hand there, you're killed. Right. If there's still a charge of that magnitude in the cabinet. So we would do that.
The tubes, aluminum tubes.
The band, the tubes.
Yeah.
Wish I could name the song now.
Yellow Cake. There was what was that thing? Tubular Bells. All right, it's time.
Yeah.
The theme song for The Exorcist was Tubular Bells.
Really?
Yeah, look it up. It's pretty cool.
Ask
song.
Alexa.
No. All right, hold on. Alexa, can you play theme song from The Exorcist, Tubular Bells?
Tubular Bells, The Exorcist by Soundtrack Orchestra from Spotify.
You can't play more than 10 seconds of it, though, or 5 seconds. All right, well, she lied to us. Yeah, that's not coming. It's not coming through your microphone.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It's not playing through it?
No, your microphone's probably too broad for that. Anyhow, why don't we say goodbye?
Stop.
We can't hear.
Alexa, stop.
Knock it off, Alexa.
Jeez, what a dude. All right, it's time to go. I gotta get on the wire. I gotta get on the news. Gotta see what's going on. See where the votes are coming in.
Get on the blower. Make sure things are going right.
Well, thanks for giving me a little levity for talking about my weekend. I hope everyone was somewhat entertained. Are you ready to wrap it?
I know I was. Yeah.
All right. And I'll get you the video as soon as possible. And we'll screw around.
Appreciate it.
I'm Dave.
I'm Woody.
And you've listened to an incredible weekend experience of We Can Help with Dave and Woody live from Chicago, University Club of Chicago. And we'll see you next week.